Hi, this is Anthony Parent of IRS Medics, and maybe you received a Form W8-BEN-E and you are wondering what to do with it. Well, this video, we are going to help you figure out what it is. Joining me today is my great friend, Ryan Socash, host of KultAmerica and a media sensation in Europe and potentially around the world pretty soon. Hi, Ryan. How you doing, bud?
Hello, Anthony. I am also the grand filler of Forms W8-BEN-E recently, so I'm really excited to probe your mind about this.
Right. So you asked me, I was like, oh my God, I have to do this because Ryan just renounced his citizenship, and now this is a form instead of a W-9. He has to form out a W8-BEN-E, and so he asked me about it, and it is, and it's just one of those things. I look at this form, and it's so crazy complicated. I don't think about it too much. But then when your friend is asking you about the form, you realize, wait a second, this is a little bit much. And especially now, here's the thing, Ryan. You were a U.S. person for tax purposes, and now you're not.
Exactly.
No, so imagine, put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's never been a U.S. tax person, runs a business overseas, gets this form from a U.S. customer thinking, what in the world is this?
Well, I think even most American people wouldn't know about this form. And the first reaction I had, because of course, making that transition from being a U.S. citizen to returning to your ancestral heritage and taking on that nationality, that's weird enough in and of itself. But then relearning how to engage with everyone you knew back home and the companies you knew back home in the States from a tax perspective is also a whole other take. And I think because I went through that unusual process, I might see this particular form, as more of a positive than a negative. But
right, yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
right.
I really, for all intents and purposes, I really see this as almost like a wild card for corporations that want to provide services in the United States or be a part of the amazing economy that's there. But I think my reaction to it is very, very unique, because if you don't have that point of view.
You've seen the alternative, right? And you've seen the alternative of U.S. compliance for a shareholder of foreign corporation. So you know what that is. And so, yeah, you might be looking at this Form W8-BEN-E saying, actually, that's a lot easier than the Form 5471.
Well, yeah.
So, indeed. Right, I guess, in a way, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. That is absolutely correct.
But then again, I think there are very, very, very few people who have made that transition. On the other hand, there are hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world that could be a part of the economy, partially by learning this form. And let me tell you where I came into contact with it time and time again, actually, with stock video and photography platforms. So it's a little thing, it's an abstract thing, but imagine you are a photographer, a cinematographer, or an artist, and you would like to sell your work to platforms so that they could be used in a commercial capacity. Well, this form, if you're a corporate entity, enables you to do just that. And it's critical because every country has a different tax treaty with the United States, which we'll get into later, but that really allows you as an individual, well, that would be with W8-BEN, or as a corporation with W8-BEN-E, to take advantage of that treaty that's in place. So, Anthony, why don't you give us a bit of the background on this form and an overview, and let's just go through it. Fill it out.
So here's the thing. This is what you need to know. If you are a person, let's say you are the person that Ryan just described. You're an artist. You're a photographer, and you're in Australia, and you have U.S. customers that want to buy your prints. And here it is. They send you a Form W8-BEN-E. So why did they send this to you? Well, here's the thing. As a non-U.S. person, if someone sends you a payment and you're foreign, the default rule is there's a 30% tax rate on the payments they send to you. Now, the thing is, the IRS knows that you're overseas, so from collecting from you is kind of impossible. So what they do, they impose a withholding requirement of 30% on the person paying you. So that means the person paying you, if you don't fill out this form and they think you're required to do so, is going to likely hold back that 30% and just give you the 70%.
They play it safe.
Now, what's that?
They play it safe.
They play it safe because here's the thing. If the IRS examines them in the U.S. and says, okay, let's take a look at all the people you've paid. You say, oh, yeah, here's all the expenses I have. They line up. It's like, oh, who's that person in Australia? Oh, it's a fantastic photographer. It's like, oh, okay. Well, do you have? Can I take a look at your W8-BEN for that BNE for that person, or for that person's entity? Actually, in this case, it's not the person. The BEN is actually when you're an individual. Let's say you own that entity, and that's what we're talking about in this case. And if the person being exempt says, oh, well, I don't have that, then the IRS is like, well, let's tell you what we're going to do. We're going to treat that payment you made as actually, if it was your profits, something that's going to be taxed upon. So the person sending you this money, this is how the IRS has done it, so they can be assured that they are going to be paid taxes that are due to it. Is they use the person that's in the U.S. that they have access to as the leverage, and that's why you see a lot of withholding. That's why banks will withhold for FATCA if you're not certified, because the bank, the IRS can, the government can, the U.S. government can leverage those banks. Way too many individuals to go after.
You could so as a corporation in the States doing business with people abroad, or using foreign entities as service providers, content providers, you could fall upon dark times if you don't secure this form. So I think like when you're dealing with U.S. companies as a foreigner, you really should take this form seriously, because A, it enables you to have this great opportunity, but B, it's for the well-being of the person providing you a job. Basically.
Right. You know what? And you know what? Thank you, Ryan, for bringing that tone to this video, because as I'm talking about it, I'm sort of describing this as a horrible, terrible form. But no. It is actually a good form. Yeah. It's good. They are sending you this because they want to pay you, right? Yeah, that's how serious they are about doing business with you. They want to pay you, and they want to be in compliance with you. So when you do receive one of these, this is good. That means they want to do business with you.
You are in business.
So it's a complicated form, but that's what we're here for, right? We're going to kind of go through it and try to figure out what it is and what you're really, I think the thing is, what are you really signing, right? You get this form like, okay, should I sign it? I have no idea what it means. Well, that's what we're here to do today, is to give you an idea of what the form is, what you're signing, and some of the information that you're going to put in it.
Let me see if, Anthony, are you able to see my screen?
I can see your screen, and I have a form of it as well. So, yep, I can see it. So, yeah, we can follow along.
Yeah, let's have a look at this.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. So yeah, this is a little bit longer. We have another video on Form W8-BEN. Okay, so that is if you're an individual, and that's actually, so let's go through the top of this form. So it says, do not use this form for a U.S. entity or U.S. citizen or resident. And it says, instead use Form W9, and that's what you used to use, right? When you are, and then if you're for an individual, we have the BEN without the E, the one that we talked about. We have a video on that. And then here's some other things too. For an individuals, entities claiming any income is effectively connected with the conduct of trade or business within the U.S. unless claiming treaty benefits, because we have a different line for that if you are claiming treaty benefits. A foreign partnership, foreign simple trust, or foreign grantor trust. I would say this. I could go through all these, but I'm going to say this. For the person who is that photographer, 99.99% of the time, we are just really talking about that entity, right? Definitely. We're not going to be worrying. This is the form for the entity. If you have actually a foreign government, international organization, well, you probably have a whole tax team taking care of this for you. So we're really for the person who's likely unsupported in this situation. So you're likely, it's just going to be this form. There are other ones to do there, but this is really probably if you do own some sort of entity overseas.
And let me just point out that normally when you're looking at tax forms and it says, do not use this form, and you qualify as one of those things, it's great news, actually. I'm not implicit here.
Yes,
but
yes.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that you'd almost prefer to qualify for using this form than end up in the scenarios with the the other people's.
Well, the other ones the other ones are complicated, but again, those are for entities that are so sophisticated. They're going to have a team to be able to handle for that. Yeah. I just really couldn't imagine a lot of these things. It's just something that you don't accidentally create but certainly, creating an entity in your country and then doing business with Americans is incredibly common, right?
So tell me about part one, Anthony.
So here we are. We have this thing called beneficial owner, and that might be the first word that throws you off. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. So identification of beneficial owner, basically it means you. You are the owner of this entity that things go through here, and it's a way to sort of say that They will really want to know where it ultimately flows to, whatever the income is, because people can use proxies and shells and all those games and do layers. But really, they just want to know, hey, look, where does it ultimately go to? So here it is, the organization that's the beneficial owner, but not the shareholders of the organization, because that's flowing back a little bit too far. That would be if those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my LLC is the beneficial owner, not the mother company, not the primary shareholders, just the entity in and of itself.
Right, for the BENE, correct. That's
okay, interesting. Country of incorporation or organization, that's pretty straightforward. That's where you're a tax resident, I'm assuming.
Yeah, where it was formed, I mean, that's usually where you are, but sometimes there's reasons why. I know a lot of guys are doing Malta right now. That's something that's going on. There's a lot of Malta has some real interesting things going on.
Big time.
And so that it could be different there. And then if it is, now we have a whole section on disregarded entities receiving that's
what we got to talk about, because
I wanted to go right by that part.
No. I'm sorry, because as someone who's filled out this form, let me be transparent. You know, I like honesty.
Yep.
I really haven't been able to deduct what that means. And I suppose that 99.9% of people who fill this out, my accountants included, actually don't know what the disregarded entity is. People abroad. So can you break it down maybe in, Forrest Gump style so that we all understand?
Forrest Gump style is going to be hard. Why don't I do this? I'll read you the section. Okay, because it is really this precision way. Then maybe you can ask a question and say,
"Well, Forrest Gump had an IQ of like 50, so I don't know if I
don't know about that. I think he was a little smarter than that. He seemed to be pretty effective. All right, so you are a disregarded entity, branch, or flow-through entity for U.S. tax purposes. However, you may use this form if you are a disregarded entity or flow-through entity. Using this form either solely to document your Chapter 4 status because you hold an account with an FFFI. Okay, so Chapter 4 is what we talk about, FATCA. Okay, Chapter 4, we see that means FATCA.
Oh, I got a lot of questions about that as well.
Oh, God, yeah. So, of course, they don't tell you that. So it's something where you're under FATCA and you are a disregarded entity and you're looking to claim treaty benefits.
Okay, so is this like if you are actually bound to U.S. tax law in the first place, and you're trying to claim the treaty benefits?
And I'm going to be honest, I have never filled out one of these where I've put in something in that form. So I'm trying to figure this out on my own too, because here's the thing. Disregarded entity is a term of art that we use for U.S. tax code. Okay, so when you put in name of disregarded entity receiving the payment, if applicable, see instructions, the first thing I think of is, well, that's got to be a U.S. recognized entity. Mm-hmm. And you can only have there's two ways to have a disregarded entity. Oh, actually, you know what? There's two ways. They made a check the box election. That's what it is. If you made a check the box election, no, that wouldn't make any sense, because a check the box election is only if you're a U.S. person. We're already saying you're a non-U.S. person. So this one's really got me. I'm trying to think of the situation where this does pop up. And I think what it is disregarded entity in this case is not the term of art. They're actually talking about a disregarded entity in another jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. That's my only conclusion that I could reach on this, that in order to make this sense.
Well, thank God
it says, disregarded entity that is where the taxes flow through to the individuals, that's about the only situation I could think of. And maybe some of our viewers, we got some pretty smart people who watch here. Maybe they have a better idea. If they could leave that in the comment, we'll pin that comment if somebody has an idea of what that is, so that people who watch this video will know that. So yeah, this one's got me a little stumped. I haven't run into it, and it's just sort of at odds, because you do have that term of art.
Yeah, well, thank God it says if applicable, because maybe there's a chance you don't have to fill it out. Whereas
I'm going to say the chances are, and again,
you must check one.
Well, and I think the thing is, if you just listen to me, I had a hard time answering that question, right? Now, I know there's tax pros around the country who know that question like that. Oh, it's this. So the thing is, if you were probably having a disregarded entity, you probably have someone there that's already doing this.
Yeah.
So that's a special thing that I would say most people, that's not going to apply.
Yeah. Now, the Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 status, this is where the W8-BEN-E starts to take form, in my opinion. Because this is where I think it's a little bit tricky. So just tell us, what is Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 status? What does that mean? Just for a ground.
So, okay, so we're going to have a whole bunch of, so Chapter 3 status is sort of FATCA, right? Mm-hmm. So Chapter 3, Chapter 4, those are both FATCA. Yeah, Chapter 3 is FATCA, I believe, or 4 and 5. So these are the 4. So this is complying with the law to say, okay, so our status is, what are you?
Okay.
Okay. And then, so they are slightly different. And then you see Chapter 4 is actually the FATCA status.
That's
so
right.
Chapter 4 is just your status. Or Chapter 3 is not your FATCA status. Chapter 4 is your FATCA status. So that's why we have these two separate parts. If FATCA was never law, we wouldn't have this box 5.
Yeah,
There'd be no reason for it. But FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, was passed in 2010, creating this boom. Look at that. Look how much complications that just added to this first page of the form, because we'll get to the other parts where they reference, and you'll see those.
And you know what's crazy about this, Anthony, as someone who's filled out this form several times. Okay, Chapter 3 status, it's really straightforward. You can easily align your entity type here. Everything is pretty much covered. I constitute a corporation, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But Part 5, so Chapter 4 status, this is where it gets a little bit nasty, because from what I read online, and please correct me if I'm wrong about this, when you're talking about Chapter 4, you're dealing with entities that should be governed by FATCA. Is that correct?
Well, right, yeah, Chapter 4 is FATCA, right.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, let me tell you, my corporation is not obliged to FATCA, yet I have had this form returned by the attorneys of some of the companies that I work with, insisting
that you need a Chapter 4 status.
Yeah, that you need this Chapter
honestly,
4 status.
And
no one could tell me. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think you are right.
Listen,
and we're going to go through this. So we're going to find out if you are right or if they are right. My suspicion is you are correct. So let's see about that. So yeah, I think the first part is pretty easy. You know which one you are there. It's going to be corporation, right? For most
very
things.
straightforward.
Now it would say this. What now? Wait a second. I ran right into a problem right away. Where's LLC?
Yeah, no.
Where is it?
Not here. I don't know.
So
maybe
is it?
Maybe they used it up on 5471.
Yeah, but if the IRS actually ran out of forms. Well, the answer is, and this is what I have not. I would double check on this. My suspicion is it is corporation, because the IRS treats all when we're dealing with foreign LLCs, the IRS by default treats them as corporations because of that limited liability status. I see no reason why there would be a different definition for it. The only difference would be, here it is, if you do have that disregarded entity. Yeah. And that is, now I think it becomes clear that when they're talking about a disregarded entity, they're not talking about a disregarded entity for U.S. traditional tax purposes that check the box election. They're talking about an entity you are disregarding in your country. Now, so that's really what they're talking about.
But when you get to the Chapter 4, it gets crazy, because you're like, look, I'm not in FATCA, I'm not covered by that. And yet the closest answer I find here is account that's not a financial account, which in and of itself doesn't make a whole lot of straightforward sense to someone who's not either an account.
Because you're not an account. Your corporation is not an account. It's it's an entity.
Exactly.
That's not the word. They are not synonyms in any sort of way. So you know what? I think we should go through the instructions now to see. We could see if Ryan Socash is smarter than a team of attorneys on this. I think he is.
I'm like the lawyer equivalent to that guy, that handyman you call in to fix something in your house. He just kicks it. And maybe it starts working, maybe it doesn't.
So I think so. Let's go. So we know Chapter 4 is all right. So we're going through these. So I am on this section, right? And boy, it gets a little beefy here. So we are.
Bring it. Use the big words. Let's hear it.
You do, right? Okay. Okay, so sponsored FFI, right? So here's, this form is so loaded with acronyms. It's incredibly nuts, right? So let's get to the first one, and that is which one you're going to. All right, so we have the part of oh wait, wrong form there. Let me get to.
This is almost
the other one.
More acronyms than words, if you.
Yeah. So let's go to non-participating FFI, including an FFI related to a reporting IGA FFI other than a deemed compliant FFI, participating FFI, or exempt beneficial owner. Well, right here, we're just going to knock this out. I'm not going to get into this, but you are not a foreign financial institution. If I see FFI anywhere, I know this is not you. So let's get rid of that box. The next box, participating FFI, reporting model FFI.
You can get a lot out.
FFI. Okay, we're getting rid of, any FFI we are done with. Okay, so that gets us to certified deemed compliant sponsored closely held investment vehicle.
I'm not an investment vehicle.
Nope, that's not you. Certified deemed compliant sponsored certified deemed compliant limited life debt investment entity. Are you one of those, Ryan?
Definitely not me.
No. Certain investment entities that do not maintain financial accounts. Would you say you're an investment entity at all?
I would say most people are not investment.
Right. Yeah. we wish we were. Right. I think that's our hope someday. Owner documented FFI. Well, we're getting rid of FFI. Nope. You're not one. You're not one.
Which is good because it means I don't have to do part 10.
Right. So restricted distributors. So there's one. What the heck is that? Well, you're not a distributor, but maybe we should just double check on that one. See,
Anthony, I almost feel like they need instructions for the instructions sometimes.
Because
it's ridiculous.
Well, this is really ridiculous because you want to know what a restricted distributor is?
Yeah.
If you are a restricted distributor, you must check the box to certify that you meet all the requirements for the status. That's it.
Oh, no. You could almost
There's
make
a little bit of italics about what they can't do, but there's actually no definition of what a restricted distributor is. We don't know.
So I guess that's not me. I guess that's not me because I don't know.
Is there a certificate to get your restricted distributor? Is there must be a form for that, right?
Can I just point one thing out? Fortunately, foreigners are filling this out who are not bound to the legal ramifications of the document too much. It's crazy because ignorance of the law is not argument for violating the law.
Right.
And the instruction form doesn't even define these chapters. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep going.
Well, I mean, that is the thing. I mean, we're going through this, so that is, the context for the the person who's not familiar with we mentioned this in the other video, but that think of the IRS as intense as the U.S. military. That's really sort of appropriate. That intense. I would just say the U.S. military is probably a little bit more effective with their resources. And probably a little bit more liked. The IRS is not really all that terribly well liked. So
I like them. Come on.
I mean,
give us this form. This is entertaining.
The IRS employees are always, incredibly helpful to me. The organization I don't like. The employees, of course,
Tell me this. Seriously. What other country's tax law could you really have this enlightening of a conversation? I mean, this is like watching a freaking action movie or something. This is so crazy.
Right. It's okay. Well, here I just thought of this as an analogy. English is one of the most powerful languages because one of the things that we do, first it's based on two things. We merged French and German. And French is good for your nuance, and German is great for, your punchy language. And so it gives us power. But then English also incorporates everything else from the world word into it. And, that's actually what the U.S. income tax code. Every idea around the world on how to tax something, usually you'll find it in the code. So if you can understand the U.S. tax code, you can understand any country's tax code and really quickly too.
Yeah.
It's not even because, and this is really one of the big differences too, because other countries are interested in raising revenue, so they make their tax code very easy to understand. The United States, we're interested in making our tax code responsible for setting our public policy. So therefore, it is the most complicated thing in the world because it's doing something it just can't do. Yeah. You're trying to control human behavior with your tax code. And this is what we end up with. And,
as is very well demonstrated by this quote unquote simple form.
Simple form, right? This is, so we're here is FATCA here. So now we've decided you're not a restricted distributor. We've decided that. Now, are you a non-reporting IGA FFI? Well, we're getting rid of that. You're not an FFI.
Nope.
Are you a foreign government?
Nope. Although that would be funny.
Position?
That'd be funny to see a foreign government fill this form out. I wonder if that actually happens.
Are you an international organization? I think we should go to I think we should check out that definition, because
that's interesting.
You are, right? I mean, you are. Okay, sure.
I'm a part of one.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Now, unfortunately, we do have to go to a section of.
I feel like they're talking about financial institutions here. I mean, everything else here has dealt so strictly with investment, accounting. It feels pretty far removed from.
Yeah, that doesn't really sound like you. So it is. So they do define what it means to be a. They do define what it means to be. Let me just grab this up here. What it means to be an organization, and let me just.
No, the suspense is the suspense.
Yeah, it is just not definitions U.S. code. We are going to, and I'm pretty sure we're going to find that. And
funny, because we're having a bit of a laugh right now, but I bet you that some people fill out this form, they're not laughing very much because they'll never be able to figure out what any of this means.
Okay, so we do have international organization. International organization means a public international organization entitled to enjoy privileges, exemptions, and immunities as an international organization under the International Organizations Immunity Act.
I don't think that's me.
Right, but I guess we would have to actually, let's go to the organization. Yeah, so I would say you're not an organization.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we
although close. That was the closest one.
Right, I know, right? It's like if you're not familiar with what our words mean, you know what an organization is. It's like, and I'm organized, right? Because the form asks you, where you organized?
Yeah, exactly.
Here. Well, that must be, and I'm an international. So I would say that's probably the most common, that has to be the most common wrong thing people put down, because that's pretty misleading. So let's get to the next one, exempt retirement plans.
That one's funny. Okay, let's go on.
Entity wholly owned by exempt beneficial owners. Entity wholly owned by exempt beneficial owners. Well, okay. So
maybe that's me. Because
that could be it.
That's interesting because
that sounds like it, to tell you the truth, because that is you. Because everybody in your entity, there's nobody. Every beneficial owner of your entity. All right, let's check out Part 16. All right, Part 16. Maybe that's it. And maybe your guys were right. All right, let's see here.
Do they have that in the instructions, out of curiosity?
So if you are an entity wholly owned by exempt beneficial owners, you must check the box to certify that you meet all the requirements for this status. You must also provide the owner documentation described in this line establishing that each of your direct owners or debt holders an exempt beneficial owner described in Regulations Sections 1.1471-6B. Why would you want to look at the regulations? Because I'm thinking that's it.
I mean, as long as we're this far down the rabbit hole.
Oh God, so that is, so I'm trying to think if there's anything here that I'm sort of having questions about. You are an entity wholly owned by exempt beneficial owners. Well, that's the part there. What do they mean by exempt beneficial owners? Because I think I'm thinking that's what it is.
Because wouldn't that imply that the owners are exempt from the bounds of FATCA?
Well, they're exempt from what? Exactly.
And let me ask you this, Anthony. I seem to remember you made a very good video on this channel about when a non-U.S. corporation, and forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, purchases majority stake in a U.S. corporation, don't the other entities they owned suddenly become bound?
Yeah, so that's called downward, right, exactly. That's called downward attribution, where one interest can spring a whole bunch of other things. I have a video on that downward attribution. Now, there is some relief available if that does happen. And really, it's people who, it actually could be someone who's in this situation if, and actually this is sort of how people find out about a lot of their noncompliance. let's say that you are receiving payments. You are a foreign person and you're receiving payments. You get this form W8-BEN-E. Oh yeah, better fill it out. Well, here's the thing too. In case you don't know, if you own an LLC in the U.S. as well, because sometimes you might have a LLC in the U.S. because you might have U.S. clients who will say, "Oh, look, I want it to flow through to the LLC." They don't want a foreign payer. They want someone internal in the U.S. They can send a 1099 to. So you open a domestic LLC for your clients to send you stuff. Well, if you did that, you have a Form 5472 obligation as well. And you might not, and you probably don't owe any taxes if it's not U.S. sourced income, but you have that form, and there's a really big penalty for not filing it. And the thing is the IRS does have leverage over you because they have the people in the U.S. are paying you, and you don't want them to go ahead and levy payments that are coming to you. It's also very embarrassing too. So that's just something to be aware of. If you do get this, and because that's such a common thing for our clients, is they have both. They actually do have. Yep, some people pay me overseas because they don't care. They already have the compliance team, but some of our smaller clients, they want to they want to get in compliance. Sorry, just got a little distracted. Got a message.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is all pretty exciting, just because it's a simple form, but you might even be ignorant of your shareholders' activities elsewhere. But as far as it seems, if they own an LLC in the United States, then the beneficial owner might not be so exempt from.
Well, now I am actually right. So here it is. Now I'm on the regulation. Now I don't know. Maybe I'm going to swing back your way. All right. So here we are. This is in the regulation that I mentioned. Oh, I don't want to lose myself. Let me read it. Then I'll tell you where it is before I lose it. Entities wholly owned by exempt beneficial owners. A person is described in this paragraph G if it is an FFI. Well, we stop right there.
Okay, because not an FFI anymore. So
a person is described in this paragraph G if it is an FFI solely because it is an investment entity. Each direct holder of an equity interest in the investment entity is an exempt beneficial owner described in paragraphs B, C, D, E, F, or G of this section.
Yeah.
Okay, it's describing its own self. It's referring. I love it. The paragraph is referring to itself.
That's good. That's a good one. That's hilarious. I didn't know you could do that.
The paragraph's referring to itself in the third person. I love it.
How do you define red? The color red is red. That's a good one. Okay.
All right. I hope other people find this as entertaining, right?
Part 16, full surprise.
So I think really we do stop there.
Yeah.
You are not an FF. Your entity is just not a foreign financial institution. You can't get there.
Yeah.
It seems we're stopped there. Hey, look, if people have another idea, please, if you disagree, I just don't see it. I don't see how it is. So, okay, so score Ryan is still, I think, it remains to be seen, but that one I thought was going to bring it down.
But we got
still
close.
Standing.
We got close, but right? Part 16 does not apply to me. That's how it seems.
Part 16, right? That's
although
what
to be honest with you,
yeah,
I need to find out which freaking checkbox I'm supposed to fill out because sometimes lawyers will not accept this form.
Right. So we're trying to answer this question as we can. Okay. So. Okay.
All right, let's keep it going. This is interesting.
Okay. A territorial financial institution.
For sure not.
We're going to say no. Accepted non-financial group entity. Okay, we got to look at that. Don't really want to look at that. That sounds horrible, but we got to look at that. And that's something. Okay.
For those of us who don't read Roman numerals, what section is that?
Oh God. Okay, you want to know the definition.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's one. Accepted non-financial group entity. If you are an accepted non-financial group entity, you must check the box to certify that you meet all the requirements for this status.
This is nuts. It's funny because I've sat on this form. I spent so much time on this form, but it's like I never analyzed it. I never really thought about it. When you break it down,
This is called a tautology. This is a tautology. When you define your definition by your definition, that is a tautology.
Yeah.
So we have no other reference point to go to other than...
Wait. Can you define the word computer, Anthony?
A computer is a word, right? A computer...
A computer...
I can't even do it.
No,
I can't even do it.
A computer is a computer.
I can't even do it. It's like it's too hard to. Wow. And
Yeah.
there's and it doesn't see anywhere else. You're really stuck with the general instructions. There's nowhere else to go. I can look at. Let me see if I can find it in the regs. They don't reference the regs, but let me see if I can find it. Nope.
I don't know. Maybe they just copy and pasted a bunch of crap onto this form
I
just
think
to make it
it
look
could just
full.
be a
You
word
know?
salad. They just said, hey.
Yeah.
The word non-financial. I'm just going to see if the word non-financial shows up in the regs. And the word non-financial does not show up in the regulations. So if you are looking to find out what a non-financial form is, you will not find it
But think
in
about
any
this.
IRS regulations. I don't believe you'll find it. And I think it would probably be in the IG. No, but Chapter 4. I don't get it. Yeah. There it is.
Good. I mean, look, if you don't give the definition away and you've got all these boxes that someone has to check to put in the form, then all of a sudden the U.S. corporation is sitting with a little time bomb, just in case the IRS wants to dig into them and they look at the W8-BEN-E and say, hey, wait, no, hold on. This is not a sponsored FFI. The guy filled it out wrong and said, oh, I'm sorry, we looked for the definition, but it wasn't there, and we just tried to deduct to the closest applicable option here. Sorry, man. Now you're headed for audit. You're going to be, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's something like that.
Well, I would say this is like, if I was going to, I'm thinking here, maybe we'll have a scholarship one day, and this is what we'll do. Have a challenge. Anyone out there, find out what this is. Find out what an exempted non-financial group entity actually is. And because you're like, well, how would you go about this? Because it doesn't really, it seems to be the instructions, and I would imagine there's somewhere, in fact, it would be there, but it just isn't defined. And, imagine trying to call the IRS to get an answer to this one.
You read my mind, because I was thinking maybe we should just call and ask, because
you could never get an answer from the IRS about what this is. You would, and I think that would be the challenge. It's not, I don't want a paper on what it is. I want someone in this world to be able to figure out how to get an answer on this from the IRS. Now, the only way I could actually think of is maybe getting a private letter ruling, but could be like $8,000 to get that.
We should start a crowdfunding.
To find out what this is. Just
actually,
because,
everyone
right?
Subscribe to IRS Medic right now, because we might have to do that down the road. I think this is not going to be the end. There's going to be part 2 of Form W8-BEN-E, because this is.
Well, I also think about the massive amount of government resources we could waste attempting to answer this question. We could have a national sensation. We're just trying to figure this out. Get everyone involved. Everyone investigate. Yeah, what is this? What is this?
It's pretty interesting. All right, keep it going, because maybe my thing is here and we just overlooked it.
So let's go to part 19. Exempted non-financial startup company.
Okay,
if you are an accepted non-financial startup company, you must check the box to certify that you meet all the requirements for the status.
What are the requirements?
You must also provide the date you were formed or your board passed a resolution or equivalent measure approving a new line of business, which cannot be that of a financial institution or passive NFFE.
Okay.
Now, so where does that, now that right there is the first time I think we mentioned NFFE, because that's part of our.
And I'm curious about one thing. So if you're providing, I don't know, Chinese board resolutions, you have to translate them and attach it to this document, or?
It just says the date. You don't need to, I guess, you don't need to certify your board minutes.
Oh, sorry, you just need the date. You just need the date. Okay, but even so,
and then again, and I think that's where we're basically, we are sort of stuck there.
Yeah.
That we don't know what this is. We just don't know what's the difference between a startup and the non-startup. Because tell me what the date is. Because it says, okay, you're a startup. Okay, well, how old do I have to be a startup?
or how young.
What does that mean? And why would I be a startup over a non-financial group entity? I'm not sure. Because both of them are about equally vague. One says startup, one says doesn't. So I guess, hey, we want to be a startup for maybe it sounds cooler to your friends to say, hey, we're a startup. By the way, we did have had a client, great guy. He opened a Swiss bank account solely for the reason of being able to tell girls he had a Swiss bank account.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but then he's like, what ended up really costing him because they weren't, he had to get in compliance with the streamlined program, and he's like, oh, geez, they didn't make any money, and he's a really, really fun guy though. I thought that was great. Yeah. Just to say, I had a Swiss bank account.
The Swiss should almost do that as like the way to earn money. Like, get your own Swiss bank account, open it online.
I know, the government took a lot of the fun out of that, huh? So now this one, when I saw, when I look at this form, you run through this, and then you get really, really thrown off by this one. Okay, so Part 21, 501c organization, and you're thinking to yourself, my first thing, okay, well, this is for foreign entities, correct? Yeah. 501c is for a non-stock corporation that's a nonprofit. That's in the U.S. And trying to sort of figure this out. How is a foreign entity, and somebody maybe I'm just being silly on this. I don't see it. How is a foreign entity that's not organized as a 501c under U.S. law a 501 can be a 501c? That's what I want to know.
Wow.
Maybe, and I'm thinking maybe this is some sort of an advanced level NGO, and maybe some of our, I would just say, whatever it is, it's got to be something related to it. It's there for a reason. And I would say it's probably related to some very high sophisticated 501cs, not the ones we would have anything to do with, the ones that are kind of big business, American Red Cross, big ones like that. Maybe that's something that they deal with because they have they don't know. They got it.
I'm starting to think maybe we should be grateful.
Because if you're a 501c, well, this is what I don't get. If you're a 501c organization, we go up to the top of this form. We go up to the top of the BENE. It says, do not use this form for a U.S. entity or a U.S. citizen resident. A 501c is a U.S. entity. It's nothing else. So you got me here, guys. You got me. I'm really stumped.
That's crazy.
Please help me. Please.
Okay, nonprofit organization. That seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's not what you're after.
Yeah.
And then we have publicly traded. Nope, we stop them there. Whatever that is, we don't have to stop. Publicly traded. This is for. That's not you. Accepted. Was that the next one? Accepted territory. NFFE, non-financial foreign entity. You want? Yeah. So we do have regulations for this.
Okay.
If you are an accepted territory NFFE, you must check the box to certify you meet all the requirements for this classification. Okay, so let's go to the regs on this one. Let's see if we can find this. It'd be fun if they're not here, but let's see here.
Oh, of course it's going to be there.
I am in 147.6. Let's just double check. Of course they would. They would never. 141. Okay, I'm not in the right code section. Okay, yeah, all right. That's why it's not showing up. Let me grab that. They're so helpful. They have it all over the place. Because it's like by the way, this is something that's kind of funny. Just as an aside, one of the things that's always, IRS Medic, the channel is always good for is a lot of tax protesters like to say, hey, there is no tax code. There's no law that says you have to pay taxes. It's just one of these things that people say. It sort of drives you nuts, but actually, in a way, they're right. You know that? I thought about that. There is no tax code on IRS.gov. You will not find any tax code on IRS.gov. You will not find the only place you will find the U.S. tax code on a .gov, I believe, the House Republicans have a version and there's another version, but we all go to Cornell law schools for the tax code. Isn't that we have like the world's worst tax code, and the IRS won't own up to it. Yeah. They don't even want it on their website. So, I mean,
well, again, they don't. This is so domineering. I mean, this is a form that's not even for U.S. citizens, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
Think about that. Think about this. We're like in the freaking first part of the form right now. We've been talking about it for an hour, and this is not even for U.S. citizens.
Yeah, so I'm going through it.
It's out there.
So we're looking for accepted territory NFFE in Treasury Regulations 1.1472-1C1 Part 3. Okay, let's see where that is. Okay, so I'm putting in find. Okay, nothing coming up on that. Let me just expect accepted territory. Let me see what happens. Nothing is happening. Let me see here. Oh, okay, I see why I might have a misspelling. Let's see where this pops up. Okay, folks. Okay. All right, I'm here. I'm on the page. I'm at Treasury Section 1.1472-1. Going down, and it says Section 3, right? Need Section 3. Keep going. Section 3. And there's a lot of little numbers you got to keep track of because it's always so helpful. Section 3. Well, is it in the little number? Wait. Yeah, they don't help you out too much here. C13. C. It's so fun to scroll through regulations to find what you're looking for, and then so I would just say this: when I do put the phrase accepted territory into the exact regulation, there's nothing that comes up.
Well, what I can see is that if someone wanted to be really thorough about this form, you might even have to retain an attorney to actually sit down and figure this out, right? It's
Yeah, no, and there's actually nothing here there's nothing here related to accepted territory. So the instructions define a term of art. They define a term of art accepted territory NFFE. However, that term of art is nowhere to be found in the instructions, in the regulations.
Amazing.
So we are looking for the definition. So it says see, it's just not here. Yeah. There's nothing that says accepted territory at all. You don't find it. There's no combination of that.
You'd think they'd have a list right there in the instructions for you.
Oh, hold on. I did find it. Hold on. I did find it. Now, why? What did? Okay, because what did they do here? I did find. I'm gonna kill him. The definition, accepted NFFE. The term NFFE means NFFE that is described in 1.1472-1C1. Okay. That's kind of what we're looking for there, right? Yeah. That's, I really am.
Yeah, it's an awful lot of redirecting and.
C1. Okay. This is where it is. A withholding agent is not required to withhold under section withholdable payment to a payee is that it is an accepted NFFE. Okay. Now this is where it's defined. This is the paragraph where they're saying the phrase is defined. Okay, here it is. We found it.
I'm ready for it.
Accepted NFFE means a payee that the withholding agent may treat as an NFFE that is a QI, WP, or WT. Additionally, the term accepted NFE means with respect to the payment, and a NFFA described in paragraph C1, 1 through 7 of this section to the extent the withholding agent may treat the NFFE as the beneficial owner of the payment.
Okay, now it's all clear. Great. Sorry, I didn't get that before. Now I get it. Thank you very much.
All right, yeah.
That doesn't apply to me.
So there are so many layered nesteds of acronyms in there that, we would never finish this. But we could just say that's not you.
No.
We'll just say, Ryan, that's not you, and that's not going to be our people.
I'm losing hope. I don't even know if there's a sense to finish the remaining three.
You're like the payee that is an accepted NFE. So you have to be an accepted NFE. Means a payee that the withholding agent may treat as an NFE that is a QI. Let's find out what a QI is. Qualified intermediary, duh. Okay.
Yeah, but they could also use
withholding. WP means withholding foreign partnership or withholding foreign trust. So you have to be, sounds like you have to be one of those three things in order to be an accepted NFFE. You need to be a qualified intermediary or a withholding foreign partnership or trust. That's what it sounds like to me. So we could say it's not you.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on. Wow. All right, that took a little bit of time. That one was a little bit, yeah. So let's see here, and I think maybe we don't need to go as deep into, because I mean these are just getting. So now we're actually just getting to NFFE.
I think we've made our point. I'm not an NFFE, but the last one is actually the one that fascinates me the most. That's the one I would probably feel most inclined to tick, because it just feels benign, like in a gut way.
Account that is not a financial account. So let's go to.
I mean, first of all, what kind of?
But you're not an account.
No, we're talking about a corporation here. I already said in Chapter 3, I'm a corporation, not an account. So
now I do know. Now we know this. The IRS loves a wide interpretation of what account is, but they lost a case in the Ninth Circuit. The IRS tried to impose FBAR penalties on somebody who had a brokerage account for, I think, online gambling, and they said, "Oh, that's a bank account." And the Ninth Circuit said, "No. You know what a bank account is? A bank account. That's what a bank account is. When you go to a bank, that's a bank account." And it's actually a pretty good ruling. That's HAM. That's really one of the only favorable things. So, yeah, sure, the IRS loves to say everything in the world is an account. And actually, that's what you are to the IRS. You have an account. Each year you have an account. You ask for your account transcript. So that is kind of, account is also a term of art with the IRS. But do they mean it here? So let's try to see if we could figure this out. Because if it is an account. Right.
Google searched that phrase.
If this is an account that is not in a financial account, there's no part to complete. It doesn't say complete part, just says, okay, just say it. All right, so really where we need to go is, I want to go to the instructions first to say, okay, well, what do you mean here? Because it doesn't even refer to any part of the instructions about what it means by that. What do you mean by account? And actually, you know, I will put that phrase right into the instructions to see. Yep, we got it. If you are providing this form to document an account you hold with a foreign financial institution that is not a financial account under regulation sections 1.147-5B, to check the account is not a financial account. Okay, so we have to define what they mean by this is only if you have an account with a foreign financial institution that is not considered a financial account under the regulation. So now let's go to there. Okay. And I think we are getting to the end here, Ryan. Yeah. This is the last one. So if it's not here, I'm gonna chalk up that victory to you, my friend. Let's see here, because it's not looking good for your attorneys right here. I'm gonna tell you that, guys.
I told them,
maybe send it to us. Like, guys, show me we're going through it here. You gotta, you know. And I think people get so afraid of the IRS that the normal thing is to go overboard. Oh, just do something, because they're not really looking at it, and people are afraid. You don't know, what it means.
And again, domestic American lawyers, they don't know about any of this because they do not deal with it in an ongoing basis like you guys do. So it doesn't surprise me that they say
I mean, we do this all the time. There's so many little tricks there. So, okay, so here we are at the appropriate regulation. I'm going to put in the exact phrase, account is not a financial, that is not a financial account. That does not come up. There is no exact match for that phrase. Let me try to narrow that down. I'm going to narrow it down to financial account. It's going to pop up a lot of things, but let's see if we can find it that way. Because again, there's nothing, it's not referring to any section in the regulations.
Yeah.
So we're just sort of trying to figure out where they did this.
Okay. That's
all right. So it's definition of U.S. account. Okay. We're not talking about a U.S. account, so we can just skip that, right?
Yeah. Definitely not.
Okay. So that section just can't apply. Let's see the next. Okay. Doesn't apply. Okay. Account holder. Here we are in account holder. The account holder is a person listed or identified as a holder or owner of the account. Okay, well, we're looking for account. What do you mean by account?
Especially when we're talking about a corporation.
So here I found it's 171.5B. That's where we need to go. 5B has our answer, right? According it's 5B. That's 4B. Is it 4B? 5B. 5B. We're going to get our answer right. We're not going to, the IRS is not going to, make a joke and mock us with something so dense and absurd, right? It's going to be, we're going to have a very clear answer, right? We're holding out hope here. They have lots of examples going, still going. Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if you clicked on part 1.4.
5B. Okay. So here we finally get to it. Exclusions. Okay. I'm looking for section B. Well, of course, non-financial group. Oh boy. Okay. So it starts off, the definition starts off with, for the 3-year period, or the period during which the expanded affiliated group has been in existence, if shorter, ended on December 31st.
What?
What?
I thought there was going to be more to it than that.
Correct. We said that account was defined in section 5B, correct?
Yes.
You said account was defined. Where is it? I'm in section 5B. I'm looking for the definition of account. I am really having a hard time here.
Yeah.
5B, non-financial group.
Well, this is exactly why I told them this part doesn't apply to me. Because
so, yeah, you can't find, okay, let's back up here. Okay, I'm in section B, reading the whole thing. I'll select the whole thing, and I'll just sort of see where the word account pops up in any of section B, okay? Just the word account. I want the word account to show up anywhere in section B. Okay, and it does.
All right.
But it does as a verb. Or sorry, is it a verb? Or sorry, in the subject of a preposition in this case. Okay, so it shows up as taking into account the application of the section.
Amazing.
But other than that, the word account does not show up in the regulations that say it defines it.
Amazing.
It's not there. I am here, and it is not there.
Well,
I am in section 1.471-5B, every which way. Now, I have to trust the good people at Cornell Law School.
Sure.
I'm hoping they're not, trolling us. They could be. I mean, it would be nice if our own government decided to put the tax code on its own website. But again, the IRS doesn't even want to own up to it.
Look, Anthony, I Google searched that. I mean, I really looked around because I was sure that was the most close option that applied to me, and it was not found. So this is pretty experimental. I don't know. I don't even know how you describe that. But it's not exactly rational. And so I always came to the conclusion that FATCA does not apply to my corporation.
Right. And it really does. And the fact is it doesn't. Right. And actually, when you come down to it, you're right. This is Chapter 4. And FATCA does not apply to a foreign entity that receives payments from the IRS. And that's why it's Part 4, which refers to Chapter 3, that you have to check. But there is actually nothing here. We went through every possible. We know you're not an FFI, so we get rid of any of those. Everything else we've gone through, it's like, well, maybe you are, maybe it is an account that is not a financial account. The IRS has just never defined what it is. Yeah. They just never have. So, wow. Listen, I mean, this is I
have a proposal.
Yeah.
We went through this every which way, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not very conclusive. We've got a cliffhanger situation right now, and what I'm going to propose to you, hear me out, Anthony, is that everyone who made it this far into the journey with us, click the subscribe button, maybe leave a few comments on your impression about W8-BEN-E and all the mysteries it beholds. And Anthony, I would like for you to sync up with one of your attorney friends and maybe see what conclusions they would bring to this forum. Maybe you could even make a follow-up video to this one somewhere down the road, because it's insane.
Well, I'll absolutely do this. And if you want to really have fun with your with your team there, so hey, so which one do you say I am and why?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great. That's fantastic.
And then they'll be watching this video like, oh damn, Ryan, you got me.
I told you.
He's right. He's like, there is none. He's right. So this is a
Chapter
great
4
troll.
doesn't
So
apply.
right, they'll watch this and like, okay, we were wrong.
Chapter 4 does not apply.
Yeah, no,
So-
and I think that there's more to. I think there's some more to the section, but it's really the rest of it is actually pretty straightforward. And I think we can stop there because this is really the central issue.
Yeah.
To the question people have is this part. This is what it is. What do I put here? And the answer is really nothing. And as a source, I guess you could link to this video because we did go through it step by step.
Definitely.
I haven't seen a more thorough analysis. So I think
do me a favor
really,
though. Come
Yeah.
back to this topic. I want
All
you to have one of your attorneys on with you, and see how they would break it down. Because like I don't think that they spent much time thinking about this form. It's not a particular priority on a daily basis for people, and this is another one of those gateway drug forms into the American tax net. Which if you're encountering this form, you might do a general review of the other surprises that might await you upon further integration of your business dealings in the United States. There's a lot to be said about that. Anthony made a bunch of great videos throughout the years, so you could get warmed up while he works on part 2, the conclusion to the cliffhanger of how in God's name do you fill out.
Right, and I would say this as we've gone through this, and I think really, and I would say this is probably going to be a very shared video by people who say, no, look, go through this. There really is nothing for if you own a foreign entity overseas, you check the part 4. There's part 5 really doesn't apply to you because part 5 FATCA, you're just not one of those things. You just really aren't. So you're trying to, and forcing something that doesn't fit. So right, and it just and I think it just goes how complicated this is, right? The IRS doesn't even know it's not defining things.
Exactly.
Has no idea. This is probably someone's. If they watch like, oh boy, we really need to fix that. And I mean, I don't fault them. I mean, they have an impossible task.
Let me just point out.
Impossible.
Let me just point out one other thing that kind of like nudged me in the direction of that does not apply to me as a non-controlled foreign corporation. Go to part 3, okay? And here's where you claim the treaty benefits. That's not that complicated. You probably take a half hour, you figure out what terms apply to you. There are enough resources on that online.
Yes.
And you fill out the little treaty thing, not a problem. But look at this. Look at this, Anthony. If you say, if applicable, okay, yes, it is applicable. I'm a foreign corporation, not bound by the confounds of FATCA or U.S. tax law. So this is for Chapter 3 purposes only. Therefore, if I filled out Chapter 4, why in the hell would I claim treaty benefits later? It feels like it conflicts a little bit, doesn't it?
No, I don't think so. I kind of see it separate. That they're saying, well, we're not saying that you have treaty benefits for Chapter 4. We're saying it's just for Chapter 3, which is Part 4, because right up.
Okay. Well, now.
Well, see, in Part 1, there's line 4, so they're actually referring to. It gets a little confusing there. Yeah. So I don't see that. There's for Chapter 3. But I guess what's the purpose of that?
But if Chapter 4 is applicable to you, it's interesting
so
that
it's
you'd
like,
be shaming.
why are we saying? Well, it's like, but that's just such a weird thing to say. Yeah. Claim of treaty benefits, if applicable, for Chapter 3 purposes only. Why am I claiming treaty benefits under FATCA? That's the answer I'm trying to get.
That's exactly my point. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, that's actually one of the beasts of that FATCA. It's not a treaty. It's never been ratified by the Senate.
Yeah.
So we know FATCA is not a treaty. It's just a law. It's actual enforceability if courts actually enforce things. It really shouldn't be enforceable, but good luck with that. So I really wouldn't. Yeah, it just seems that does seem kind of odd. Why?
Yeah. Okay, look. You have to play it safe. You're an attorney. I'm just speculating here, but I really think it would be awesome if anyone watching this video could chime in.
Right. And one thing I would say is just a really, if you do get this form, you might have been looking for this answer. Where do I mail this to? You just send it back to the person who gave you. You don't mail it to the IRS. Again, they hang on to it in case they're examined. Oh, hey, this is the person I paid. So there is no, you will send it, and they'll tell you that to send it back. Oh, you know what? Did you know there's a Part 30 Well, that's the certification, and it's XXX.
Oh, perfect.
Well,
Perfect.
you know, your email, your spam filter, you know, if you email one of these, you might have a problem there.
Yeah. Well, I can summarize that. Don't lie. Don't give any misinformation. Don't commit perjury, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Basically.
So that's a good idea. So I think we'll end on this one, but we'll pick this up later.
You have to.
And I think this sort of, unfortunately for people to truly understand the absurdity of the IRS, you do have to kind of dig into videos like this, which is sort of hard.
Yeah.
And I know people don't want to do it, but this is what controls your life. You know, it really does. And so you should know it. If somebody wants to take your money and claims they have the right to do so, don't you have an obligation to make sure what they're doing is the right thing? You know, I'm not trusting anyone. And I think with good reason, because I'm looking for definitions that they either define by themselves or don't even bother. Yet they're saying, you better do this. You have a duty to know all of this. Hey, guys, you know what? You don't have the answers here. So you're kind of leading us along. And no fault to the people who wrote this. Again, they have an impossible task. There's too complicated, and every exception, everything gets more complicated every day. Yeah. So it's just going the wrong, and it's never going to get better until there's a realization that, this is just crazy. And there's not that realization. So, all right. So next time, Ryan, we are joining, and look for that video. If you haven't watched it, we do have the video. If you are an individual and you have that W8-BEN, there is that video on that. Definitely. And we'll be answering a whole bunch of questions on that. So thanks for joining.
It's a pleasure, Anthony. See you
Thanks,
next
Ryan.
time. Bye-bye.